right, hi everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good tonight. Very good. Sorry. Let's just get this all settled here. Okay. So, are we good, David?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right. So, tonight we're talking about animals and spirituality, as you guys see back there. Before I start the talk, can I just get a show of hands real quick? How many people usually listen to talks about animals and spirituality, and Spiritism? There's quite a lot of information out there, but sometimes it's not really that interesting to certain folks. To me, it's very interesting, and I'm always getting either streaming radio or programs or talks or reading about it. So I just kind of want to see a show of hands to make sure that I make sure you guys understand what I'm talking about. How many people usually listen to that topic? Yeah, just one? Okay. How many people have animals in their houses then? Yeah? Okay. So you guys do. Well, hopefully, this topic is a specific topic that is quite controversial, right? So, especially in the Spiritism realm, it's not everybody, is interested in the topic. So there's not really much of a talk about it in the Spiritist centers. But I really I tried my best to stay within the Spiritist doctrine. I do use some scientific research here that we're going to go over, and so all the codification work for Kardec, and also some supporting information from the Spiritist doctrine as well. So I will keep to just there's a plethora of topics regarding animals and spirituality, and some real controversial topics, but I'm going to keep my focus on just 3 of them, which are the animals intelligent. Are animals intelligent? Do animals have souls? And are animals destined to progress as we are? So we are going to focus mainly on these 3 topics. Okay. So the first one, are animals intelligent? Right? Okay. And the first thing, before we even go into, what exactly, are animals intelligent, let's talk about what exactly instinct versus intelligence means. Because a lot of people say that animals only have instinct, right? Because they're irrational animals and they only have instinct. So if we go to the Genesis, Kardec's Genesis, he says, instinct is the hidden power which stimulates organic beings to spontaneous and involuntary acts in relation to their conservation. So these are acts that are not thought out, there's no reflection upon them. They're automatic, they're mechanical, right? There's no thought behind them. And an example of instinct is, in plants you can think about, so trees, the roots of the trees looking for water, looking for nutrient in the soil, a sunflower turning towards the sun, a passion fruit vine trying to grab the fence, right? So all of this different automatic instincts, and plants only have this instinct, right? So animals, though, the instinct for them is something a little bit different, right? So it is spinning a web, but still at the same, not really any thought, very mechanical, very automated. One very interesting instinct of animals that I love is the migration of monarch butterflies from the northern states all the way to the south, right into Mexico. If you haven't researched that, that's an amazing miracle of nature. That monarchs do. So they fly 3,000 miles one way just to make sure that their species survive, because they cannot stay in very cold weather. So they can't overwinter like some other butterflies can in their chrysalis. So that's always very interesting. Now, for humans like us, instinct is something that very simple, is learning how to walk, right? So that comes natural to us. Or childbirth is natural. It's part of instinct. So all of that is instinct. Now, intelligence is revealed by voluntary. Also from the Genesis, intelligence is revealed by voluntary, reflective, premeditated, united actions according to the fitness of circumstances. It is incontestably an exclusive attribute of the soul. All mechanical action is instinctive. That one which requires reflection and organization is intelligent. Okay, so now here in intelligence there is a thought, there is reflection, there's organized thought in the middle, right, of this. So if we try to, and Kardec here in this chapter of Genesis also talks about how instinct and intelligence often go together. So if we give an example, if I'm walking, that's instinctive, right? Do you think when you're walking, like, oh, I have to put my foot like this, I have to put my foot. No, you really don't think about it, but you do have to think like where I have to go, right? So where you have to turn because you're going somewhere, so you kind of have to think about those routes. You have to think about how fast you're going. It's just like that. Animals, he gives this example in the Genesis too. Animals have the instinct of, for example, carnivorous animals, when they are trying to get their food, right, when they're trying to feed, they will kill their prey, and that's instinct. That's something that they need it for their preservation, right, for them to live. However, the way that they actually are killing or are catching their prey is very different, because it's not always the same, right? They're not always going to have the prey in the same location, in the same environment. The other day I was in my garden, and it was very interesting. I actually saw a snake, a garden snake that was pretty big, like 2 meters long, getting ready to prey on a lizard. And lizards, you guys know, are very fast here, right? So it was very interesting to see how she was like super fast in getting this lizard. And then the same day I saw the lizard eating a butterfly type, a moth, which was very odd, but very interesting too. Again, all miracles of nature. But going back to this, intelligence, it does require animals, so even those wild animals, right, it does require them to have some type of thought. Not rational thought like us. Let's make sure that we understand that. But, even in our houses, right, we all have animals. The people that do have animals in our houses, dogs, cats, we do notice that they are intelligent, that they're just not, relying on instinct. They learn a lot of different things. And so all of those cognitive processes are part of intelligence. Okay. So let's make sure. Okay. I will talk to you guys about the Spirits book. So in the Spirits book, there's question 593, and they ask, Kardec asks, can the animals be said to act only from instinct? And then the Spirits reply, that again is a mere theory. It is true that instinct predominates in the greater number of animals, but do you not see some of them act with a determinate will? This is intelligence, but of narrow range. Okay. All right, so as I was doing my research, I found some great examples of intelligence that are very coming from the Spiritist doctrine. So this one here is Gabriel Delany, and he is from France. He is a French. He was an electrical engineer. He was a writer. He was a Spiritist disseminator. So he was one like Leon Denis. He was also, along with Leon Denis, he was a disseminator of Kardec's doctrine after Kardec died. So in the 1900s or so. So he wrote this book here called The Reincarnation. And in The Reincarnation, there are two stories that were very interesting that caught my eye. That were also, again, it's a Spiritist doctrine book. And he is talking about intelligence, animal intelligence. It's actually, I think, chapter 22 of his book, under animal evolution. So here is this dog named Ralph, and he is a German dog. And Ralph was in about the early 1900s too. He was an Irish Airedale, a Scottish Airedale, sorry. And he was quite a smart dog. This lady here is Mrs. Mokel, his guardian. And Mrs. Mokel was teaching her daughter one time how to do math, or always was teaching her daughter how to do math. And one time she was very frustrated because her daughter couldn't learn how to do, very simple, 2 plus 2 type math. And so finally the dog would always be with them as she's teaching the child this, math, arithmetic. And so finally she gets so frustrated that she says, I think even Rolf here probably knows how to do math. And then finally the dog kind of gets close to her and he kind of looks, as if he's like understanding what she's talking about, right? Dogs do that sometimes, right? So finally she asks, Rolf, do you know what 2 plus 2 is? And then he gets close to her in her arm and taps her arm 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, they were all very, surprised, the daughters, and him and her. She was like, no way, this is happening. So finally she asks again. She's like, okay, let's do another question. How much is 5 plus 5? And he taps in her arm again 10 times. So then, she started, questioning what's going on. So finally, I'm not going to tell you the whole story about Rolf. He was very, very smart. It was because of Rolf here. It was in that German time. Actually, the Nazis were thinking about using dogs in their army. So it was because of this, how smart this dog was. There were a lot of scientists coming from Vienna to come look at this dog because he actually became so smart that he developed this intelligence so well with his guardian, Mrs. Mokel, that she actually taught him how to communicate through a little alphabet. By tapping, it would mean a specific name, a letter. So this is a true story that happened in the 1900s. You can research about Rolf. You can read it on the internet about him. So there was a lot of scientific research done on him. Again, it was a long time ago, but still it was interesting to see how fast and how interesting things this dog could learn. The next one is an even better true story that Gabrielle Delany was talking about. And it's about these horses. They're called the Elberfeld horses, also in Germany. And these horses were so smart. And this is actually an excerpt that I found on the internet on the New York Times from 1901 or so. But there was, again, a lot of controversy around these horses too, mainly because they were even smarter than Rolf. Besides doing math, they could also do things like they could tell time. They could do the simple math, and they could also do square root. So in matter of instance, they would be able to tell the square root and cubic roots. So things that I can't tell cubic roots, right? But these dogs, they were taught. Obviously, they were trained, right? They didn't learn by themselves. So their trainer was able to teach them. They were just very smart animals. And again, all of these scientists and various people went to try to kind of understand how is it that these dogs learned what seemed to be very interesting feats. Okay, but how about science? What does science say about all this? And so I collected some information that I looked around. There's quite a few information out there regarding animals' intelligence. So you can this is coming from Discovery News. Does anybody know Discovery, the Discovery magazine? Very interesting. It talks about planets and space and animals and nature, again, all scientific based. And then also there's some NBC News information too from research. So I'm not going to go in depth. There's a lot of depth on this information that I talked about, even the horses, Rolf, I spent plenty of time researching this stuff. Umberto can tell. Every time that I found something, I'd be like, no way, no way, and I'd be telling him. So this stuff is out there. You just have to go out and research it, and understand a little bit more about it. And there is definitely a bunch of scientists' names and schools all over the world that are talking about this stuff. So I'm not going to mention any of them. But like I said, if you just Google search animal intelligence, you'll be able to find where all this research is coming from. So crows. Crows actually, they say that they could be smarter than as smart as your kid. So they have the intelligence of a 7-year-old kid. I don't know. Has anybody have any experience with crows or anything? They're quite crafty. They're able to, like, if you put some food in a tube and they can't reach it with their beak, they actually, and if you give them some tools, they're actually very good tool makers. So they'll actually like make hooks in order to grab that food. And they're so smart, they remember people's faces. So if they feel threatened by you for some reason, you know, there's a lot of crows and farms, right? So if they feel threatened by you for some reason, they can actually gather and they can get their friends, you know, and mob them and come back and try, you know, to disturb you. So again, anybody seen the birds? The birds here? Yeah. So again, they're crows, right? So maybe a little bit of scientific truth to that. Pigs. Pigs are smarter than cats and dogs. Believe it or not. I saw that. I mean, that's not even new news. It's old news. Okay. Octopuses are able to plan. So with octopuses, I think that's new. I found some research about it, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. But octopus, mainly, they're really good planners. They're able to grab rocks in the seafloor to like cover the right number of rocks to try to make like a little cover for them, or, you know, a place that they can hide, a safe place that they can hide. So quite the interesting thing, because scientists didn't think that this could happen, right? Because they have very different brain structure than ours. They're called cephaloids. The honeybees prove intelligence doesn't require a big brain. So the bees are quite interesting too.